order the House Standing Committee on Appropriations and Revenue, meeting 3, February the 25th, 2026, on adjournment of the House. Wait about 10 minutes or so thereafter. Technology. Wait about 10 minutes plus after. I think we have most all members at this point. We're in Annex Room 131, and someone has told me there is overflow in 149. I hope that is true. Thank you all for coming in, and if you will, please call the roll.
Representative Banta.
Present.
Representative Bojanowski.
Here.
Representative Bridges.
Here.
Representative Brown. Representative Burke.
Here.
Representative Dietz.
Here.
Representative Fleming.
Present.
Representative Freeland.
Here.
Representative Fugit.
Here.
Representative Hart.
Here.
Representative Lockett.
Present.
Representative McPherson.
Here.
Representative Riley. Here. Representative Stevenson.
Present.
Representative Thomas.
Present.
Representative Truitt.
Here.
Representative Upchurch.
Here.
Representative Williams.
Here.
Representative Bowling.
Here.
Representative Bray.
Present.
Chair Petrie.
Here. We have a quorum and duly constituted to carry out business, and we have it for consideration. Bills tonight currently on the agenda for House Bill 500 and House Bill 504. 500 is the executive branch budget bill. 504 is the judicial branch budget bill, and most everyone is familiar with that. House Bill 500 was filed as a bare bones structure to start conversations with agencies after considering their additional budget requests and input from everyone inside the annex, outside the annex, and all concerned about issues, especially relative to the budget and the operation of the different branches. I first want to recognize our budget review sub-chairs, and if each one of you would just stand up in here, please. These budget review subcommittee chairs have done tremendous work this session, unlike prior sessions, listening to a lot of concerns, making sure that we've got issues on for topic in their BR subcommittee meetings. You sit down, that's fine. Just wanted to tell y'all thank you very much. Without what you've done, we couldn't arrive at a committee substitute to put forward and move the budget process along. Also, budget process, I know most everyone knows this, but I'm going to make sure it's clear for everyone. You have an introduced version in the House. We have a committee substitute that comes out. There will be some kind of version that passes off the floor, House floor, I would suspect. It'll go to the Senate. The Senate will do something very similar, and then most of the time we end up in a conference or a free conference between the chambers to hammer out differences. And that means that we're still at the very beginning of that entire process. But as to this step, we have House Bill 500, and we are ready to take up committee sub, but I think to the committee sub, we also have a committee amendment.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a committee amendment that would modify PHS 1. It's been distributed to the members, and I would move that committee amendment is adopted.
And so on the committee amendment to PHS 1, which is in the packets, committee amendment addresses really a singular topic subsequent to the committee sub going through process for presentation for people to start reviewing it. Kia contacted us and said they're, well, I don't know if I take that back. I don't know if they contacted us. We noticed a discrepancy in the numbers. So this committee amendment just makes sure that what was intended in the committee sub is accomplished on the numbers. And we have a motion and a second on the committee amendment adoption. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Committee amendment to PHS 1 is adopted. Now we have PHS 1.
I'd make a motion to adopt PHS 1 as modified by the committee amendment.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Committee amendment to PHS 1 having been adopted and PHS 1 having been adopted as amended. That's what we have in front of us. Mainly, I will be referring to PHS 1 for reference purposes. And then what I intend to do is just provide an overall summary, and then we'll entertain some questions and take a vote later on. First, just to hit some statewide issues, defined calculation costs such as COT rates, facility security charges, fire, tornado insurance, governmental services center charges, motor pool, and several other items contained in defined calculations have been fully funded. There is a salary increment for the executive branch throughout state employees as well as constitutional officers and all elected officials in the executive branch, which would be a 2% increase in 27 and a 2% increase in FY 28. As the structure was in the original filed bill, we have identified certain areas, certain budget units that have been taken off the table for consideration of cuts. The cuts, just broad-based percentage cuts, 4% in FY 27, an additional 3% in FY 28, with the following being exempted from the cuts percentages: Veterans Affairs, ANOC and Judgments, SEEK, LARS list, school facilities construction, county cost, Medicaid benefits, behavioral health, family resource centers and volunteer services, juvenile justice, Department of Corrections, community services and local facilities, Department of Corrections, adult correctional facilities, Department of Corrections, local jail support, and post-secondary performance fund. And along with the 2% salary increment across the executive branch for elected and unelected, there would likewise be a CLEP increase for law enforcement related, and I believe the same is true on fire. But right now, CLEP incentives would go up 2% and 2% also. I'm going to skip over quite a few details inside each budget unit for the sake of timing, but try to hit some of the biggest items that I think is of interest in here as well as in the public. One thing I would just say, we have tried to consistently maintain maintenance pools where they existed, continue to maintain those so we can keep up our capital in good shape. Funded primarily with investment income from capital construction account and maintained most all of those. Attorney General, there's an increase in restricted funds for the body armor grant program that'll show up two places in the budget bill. A forensics laboratory in Western Kentucky, computer forensics laboratory, upgrade communications equipment, data privacy protections, upgrade technology capital, and a little extra money with general fund and federal funds for Office of Medicaid Fraud and Abuse Control. Commonwealth's attorneys and county attorneys treated very similarly. There was a jobs classification study, a salary classification report that came in from each a few years ago, and we are trying to maintain funding for that. We've been in contact with them and the Attorney General's office, and I appreciate them having done that, and I believe we have addressed any issues they've identified. Auditor of Public Accounts, we've received additional information from them that'll be considered throughout the remainder of the process. Personnel Board, although we haven't heard from them directly on these issues, I haven't. New case management system put in effect, increase the hearing officer hourly rate. This is Personnel Board. Soundproofing boardroom and hearing rooms and audio and visual recording equipment. Kentucky Public Pensions Authority, additional money for modernization of the pension administration system, and additional capital project on something similar to that. School Facilities Construction Commission, easiest way to think about it is there's an additional $40 million of offers of assistance within SFCC, and those funds will flow through normal process. Teachers Retirement System, it is being funded as we've done in years past with the legal requirement as well as the actuarially determined requirement. So full funding in the sense that we have imposed it upon ourselves to try to get to the unfunded liability being paid down by 2049. Cabinet for Economic Development, have received some communication from them, still subject to cuts, the 4% and the additional 3, minor adjustments with them. Department of Education, SEEK was removed from the base percentage cuts. If I have my note correct, FY26 per pupil guarantee was approximately $4,586 for FY26. We're basically doing a 2% increase in FY27 with another 2% in an additional 2% in FY28. That will calculate into a base per pupil guarantee for FY27 of $4,626 and for FY28 $4,792. We are increasing on behalf of payments. We are for teachers' retirement for the districts. We are continuing with all nickels that are already in process, equalizing those that are at 25% going to 100. We are also addressing, I think, the 17 districts that have passed additional nickels. We are starting those on the equalization pathway. And we have an added intent language that this is the last budget cycle we will add on new nickels. Also, have included language to require that the equalization for projects is to be determined whether those projects have been completed and bonds paid off. If they have been, then we need to sunset the equalization nickels for those items. Operations and support. There's approximately a $100+ million additional in federal funding to support additional spending on school and community nutrition programs through the Department of Ed Operations and Support Services. Learning and Results Services, much like what was recommended by the governor, we are using general fund carry forward of $98.3 million in FY26 into FY27 and increasing general fund appropriation by $201 million in FY28 to fully fund the cost of health insurance on behalf of local school district employees, and likewise that is the same, different numbers, but the same for state employees. Any cap on growth of funding, 5%, has been removed. We have included language that we will be requiring further information about KEEP, the Kentucky Employee Health Plan. Additional information from the executive branch as in the form of actuarial reports and some other items so that we can hopefully have a meaningful discussion and make sure that there is sustainability to the KEEP plan over time for state and school districts and everyone else involved. I may have skipped over it, but I'm going to find this one. A lot of people ask about transportation through K-12 education. In addition to SEEK, it has a different formula, and we have approached it with FY26 numbers at full funding to maintain that. The original version had FY25 numbers. I understand that next week or the week after, revised numbers will be coming out from Kentucky Department of Education, and that will be utilized through the remainder of the process for consideration, but we've operated on what numbers we have at this point. I'm going to take note, there are multiple budget units where we have removed budget language in the introduced version, and there have been questions about that. Nothing has been removed by intent to cut a program out. They're either identified as languages not necessary or languages not necessary because the item has dropped into the base, at least as we understand it, and have gotten confirmation from as many places as we can. So for instance, Education, Labor Cabinet, General Admin and Program Support. You'll see the Governor's Scholars Program, the Governor's School for Entrepreneurs, Kentucky Center for Statistics, the Hope Center, Kentucky Adult Learner. Those were line item appropriations, removed the language, but it doesn't affect the programming. Public Service Commission, under Energy and Environment, we have added language to identify funding for siting and construction of nuclear energy facilities, which is a current issue in Kentucky. Added language to identify funding for the Energy Planning and Inventory Commission also. Health and Family Services, General Admin. Add language to identify funding for Parkinson's Disease Registry. Increase general fund and restricted funds and federal funds to implement community engagement program as required by House Resolution 1 at the federal level. As to Medicaid benefits, increased Michelle P. waivers, community living waiver slots, home and community-based waiver slots. As to Michelle P., 75 additional in the first year, 50 additional slots in the second. Community living waiver slots, 100 additional in the first year, 50 slots additional in the second. Home and community-based waiver slots, 125 in the first and 50 in the second year. Increased restricted funds by about 55, almost 56 million for FY26 for Medicaid benefits program support. Continued an increase to support certified community behavioral health clinics. Identified funding for pharmacist pay parity issue. Medicaid benefits in general were removed from the House introduced version of subject to 4 and 3% cuts over to exempted. So that particular unit continues from 26 without a cut. Behavioral health, developmental, and intellectual disabilities, increased funding of about $20 million for staffing and increased patient census, state-run psychiatric facilities. Public health, increased federal funds by about $213 million in each fiscal year for Rural Health Transformation Program. Authorized approximately $270 million in bond funds to construct the Central Laboratory expansion. Amended language from the original version identifying the funding for children's advocacy centers, domestic violence shelters, and rape crisis centers. Funding was included in the original filed version. Due to a misinformation issue, we wanted to make sure that that was clarified and the correct amounts identified. Increased general fund by about $43.5 million in 27 and $58 million in 28 to support increased state share of SNAP administrative costs pursuant to or resulting from House Resolution 1 at the federal level. We did add language to identify funding for adoption records, child care benefits, relative and fictive kin caregivers, dependency, neglect, and abuse of children or of a child, and truancy. You will see some programs that were within Justice and Public Safety Cabinet, such as Operation Unite, Restorative Justice, Freedom House, that sustained some cuts, these type programs have received increases in more than one session for the most part, budget cycle recently. This does not take them out or eliminate them, but it does reduce the funding amounts. We also have increased the general fund by $1.6 million in FY28 to support the Northern Kentucky Medical Examiner's Office. Criminal justice training, we've transferred money from that to state police, around $600,000 to support updates to mobile data terminals and docking stations and the road cruisers. This continues to be a project on fleet and the equipment in there, as well as the radio systems used across the Commonwealth to transmit and receive signals. Juvenile justice, we have amended the reporting language regarding the renovation of the Louisville Detention Center capital project. Increased general funds by about $6.5 million in 27 and $12 million in 28 to support the Jefferson Regional Detention Center in Linden and Jefferson County Youth Detention in downtown Louisville. State Police, increased general fund to support the statutory CPI adjustments and salary schedule for troopers and commercial vehicle enforcement officers. Increase the general fund and the same unit to support relocation of the Northern Kentucky Crime Lab. Authorized maintenance pool capital projects and authorized other projects of about $8.5 million. Corrections adult institutions, increased costs of about $4 million in the first and $9 million in the second year to support medical cost increases, and there were several or a few capital projects that were added from the original version. Public advocacy, there is a companion bill that Representative Dietz, I believe, is still working on and may yet be filed in a day or so, if not today, I can't recall, about the Department of Public Advocacy. This increases general fund to support technology needs in this bill, as well as additional funding to support their currently identified needs for trial court attorneys at the district and circuit court levels in particular. Personnel cabinet, as I've said, we've dealt with the health plan, but we have additional language about performance and how is that plan performing from month to month, and additional information that we need to analyze its long-term sustainability. We still have a state salary and compensation fund, which is a limited but fairly far-reaching pilot project with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and Cabinet for Health and Family Services to address the compression issues with state workers. We have made great progress in recent years of increment, salary increments from cycle to cycle, year to year. We've also finally received the true study from the Personnel Cabinet. That has been implemented, and starting to get to the salary compression is the last major personnel issue that we have. Post-secondary education, as I've noted before, Kentucky Higher Education Assistance Authority, KIA, the committee amendment addresses any oddity in the numbers with them. They increased general fund by a little over $8 million each year for the college access program. And when you look through all of the scholarship programs that they oversee and administer, we've tried to hold that steady for the most part. Post-secondary institutions, as I said, their performance funding, which has increased at a very good pace over the last few years and budget cycles, we've held that steady at $115 million per year. We also have an asset preservation pool, which we have administered before, two different amounts over time, but to maintain their capital facilities. We've changed that a little bit, and essentially $10 million in the first year per institution, And then I believe that was $100 million in the second to be distributed by formula. That should allow a better distribution spread for smaller, medium, and larger entities. Kentucky Community and Technical College System increases restricted funds to make sure that of around 2.3 million in 27 and 1.33 in 28 for Firefighters Foundation Program Fund to support 2% increase in incentive payments for qualified professional firefighters, 2% increase for aid payments for each qualified volunteer fire department, and to deal with some unsafe fire equipment issues. Public Protection Cabinet, Housing, Buildings, and Construction, I'll just draw a little bit to that. There were some increases in restricted funds to hopefully help with construction that's ongoing and inspections that are ongoing. Hazardous material inspectors increased, electrical staff increased, plumbing staff increased, boiler staff increased, HVAC staff increased, building code enforcement increased. Tourism, Arts, and Heritage Cabinet inserted language regarding the Artisans Center so that there can be a feasibility study to determine its possible or potential acquisition by Berea College and or the city of Berea. It was pretty productive conversations with them. Parks, maintaining the maintenance pool at about $20 million from investment income. State Fair Board increasing restricted funds for facility expansion and staffing, as well as rental services and increased contract cost. Maintenance pool again. Historical Society authorizes additional funding for Kentucky Old State Capitol Preservation Capital Project of about $5 million in investment income. And if you'll give me just a moment, trying to cut to the biggest items. I think that'll be it for now on House Bill 500. Hopefully it gives an overview, and look, whoever's listening and whoever's out there, you have items that you're interested in. It's not that we aren't, but this covers a lot of items and we can't take the time to cover all of them. You got okay, yeah. So we'll go to questions at this point. Anybody? First, checking with vice chairs to make sure I haven't missed any big items at the moment. Okay. Representative Bojanowski, question, comment?
Yeah, question, please. So I just want to make sure I understood what you said correctly. So the current funding that you have in this committee sub, the 398,000.8 or 398.8 million for Seek Transportation is what you understand the full cost to be at this time.
It is based on FY26 numbers.
Okay. May I ask another question?
Yes.
So what I want to try to understand is the money that's going into the Budget Reserve Trust Fund. So with the committee amendment, we've got 487.7 million going in from general fund and then 350 million from the Department of Insurance Fund. So what's the reasoning for putting that money into the Budget Reserve Trust Fund, and what impact would it then have on potential income tax reduction triggers?
Okay. First, I don't know that it would have any effect whatsoever on income tax rate reductions, as if the money is transferred to reserve, we already well exceed the 10% cap. So nothing more is needed on that. As far as what money is going into the reserve, the numbers that I'm showing on a balance sheet, you're looking at approximately $465 million in the first year and approximately $147 million in the second year. But mind that that is budgeted, but we also are not accounting for NGEs that happen in each of those years. So you may have 100 to 200 million of NGE, necessary governmental expenditures. You may have 100 to 200 million NGEs in each of those years. That would have a call on what ends up in reserve. So the 465, the way I look at it, is 465 less probably 2 and 147 less probably 200, which means I may not have anything deposited in the second and we may have some in the first. Now, as to the question, I think hopefully that answers part of your question. The other thing was 350 million, is it identified? 350 million actually comes from the Department of Insurance restricted funds. Those funds grow considerably over time. Rather than put them in the operational budget, and really you'd be kind of mixing one-time money with operational expenses. We opted not to put that in the operational side and instead put the 350 in the reserve trust fund. But we also put a call on some of that 350, and if I remember correctly, it was about 150 in the first year and 100 million in the second year as an absolute pressure reliever backup if Medicaid benefits exceeded what we had funded. So just as an in case, that money is standing ready. Not unprecedented as when we did in the last cycle with Medicaid. I think it was about 60 million that we identified out of the Budget Reserve Trust Fund as a pressure valve, pressure release, just in case Medicaid was higher than what we thought it was supposed to be. So doing something similar to that here, but just not through a one-time appropriation bill. We're doing it actually in this bill. Yeah, you're welcome. Very good question. Representative Berg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to start by expressing my gratitude. Some of my anxieties have been abated, and I really thank the majority for your work because it means a lot that SEEK is growing. It means a lot that the Kentucky Employees Health Plan is secure for at least now. My question, sir, relates to Medicaid funding. It seems that the budget still includes $220 million less for Medicaid benefits than the governor's budget or the cabinet request. That does include the $250 million in the fund that's available for now in Budget Reserve Trust Fund. And I'm just wondering why the Medicaid budget seems to be that amount short. Is that a specific amount that we know to be a useful number, or is that random? Or
Oh, good question. So when we receive estimated costs, especially estimated cost increase from the agencies, first off, understand that the agencies and what the governor recommends, even in this cycle, don't necessarily agree. On this item, I'm not saying that, but we see that. So it is a guess by one and an informed guess by both, I guess you could say. So we also take informed guesses also, and that's why we have a backup that was just discussed in reference to Representative Bojanowski's question. But as far as we exempt the benefits, and this is Medicaid benefits, not admin and support, on the benefits funding, we flattened that at the FY26 levels. That stayed flat into 27 and 28. If you look at the trajectory of eligibles inside Medicaid that receives benefit in light of changes at the federal level and at the state level and just general trends post-COVID, we are seeing a considerable trend decline. It's hard to fathom that we would need an extra 200 million or more to continue to fund something that has gone down by 15 or more % in just a matter of a short amount of time. So that's what that's based on. And at the same time, we don't presume to have the hubris of we have God's eyes on it. So it's an important piece to us, and we have a backup, a fail-safe, just in case, as we did before in the 24 budget.
thank you, sir. May I ask another?
Yes, please.
I appreciate that explanation and the thinking that the utilization rate is going to decline based on the federal and state level changes. In the event that somehow our very best estimations are wrong and we did exceed the $250 million that are in the Budget Reserve Trust Fund as the fail-safe, is there a plan if we did blow through that as well?
Well, it's almost like everything else in our budgets. You can't budget to the max on the worst case scenario. However, we are putting those fail safes in, and as you would know, most would, that there is sufficient backup for that in the reserve if something happened well beyond any of our expectations. I think there's more than enough with what we've already planned, but it's there. We also, I believe, have some additional reporting requirements, and we have Medicaid Oversight Advisory Board that's basically monitoring the numbers month to month to make sure that we can see a trend change as it's happening rather than being told after the fact, so that as we come back into the 27 session, and you know what, there's a good piece of news, really good piece of news. When we finish this April 15th or thereabout, we'll be back again in the first part of January of the following year. And if we've identified something that's gone horribly wrong or beyond expectations, then we can talk about this again in committee.
Is that good news, sir?
That is good news.
And may I have one other?
Yes, please.
This question relates to the funding for senior meals. I think
Yes.
every single member of this body was deeply concerned when there was inadequate funding. Is the $19 million allocation there for senior meals?
The allocations for senior meals are riding steady, and we, as far as I recall, we received no additional agency request on that item.
Is it in the base, sir?
It would be in the base, and no additional funds were requested. And I
Okay.
can't tell you how much is in the base because I didn't go back and check that, but I can tell you what was there remains there.
Okay. Is it too late if anyone in the cabinet determines that they have failed to make an adequate request? Is it too late for them to come plead their case on behalf of the seniors?
It was too late as of about the middle of November of last year. But even though we set that as a deadline for those agency requests to be finalized so that we could move forward with planning and calculations, even as of this week, we still receive information that's updated, and I anticipate that we will receive next week we'll receive additional update information. And my guess is right up until about the time we sine die, we're going to receive additional pieces of information. And look, we're not trying to cut people off. I don't like being set up and go, I'll give you a little more, and then I'll give you the real stuff at the very end. But we take all information in as it's coming in and try to assess it, breadth, depth, and ripple effect, and make sure we're making good decisions for Kentuckians, just as I know you do.
Thank you, sir.
Any other member seeking recognition for comment or question on House Bill 500? As amended by PHS 1, as amended by Committee Amendment 1.
Motion on House Bill 500 as amended by PHS 1, as amended by the committee.
I have a motion and a second thereon. Call roll.
Representative Banta.
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski.
Pass.
Representative Bowling.
Yes.
Representative Bray.
Aye.
Representative Bridges.
Yes.
Representative Brown.
Pass.
Representative Burke.
May I explain my vote?
Yes, please.
I will be voting no because I'm still digesting the document. And while I deeply, deeply appreciate the progress, and I just can't say it enough, there are some things that I think are still really missing. And because we're not going to have a meaningful ability, it doesn't seem to add those things, I'm a no.
Representative Dietz.
Yes.
Representative Fleming.
Aye.
Representative Freeland.
Yes.
Representative Fugit.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Lockett.
Yes.
Representative McPherson.
Yes.
Representative Riley. Representative Stevenson.
Pass.
Representative Thomas.
Aye.
Representative Truitt.
Yes.
Representative Upchurch.
Yes.
Representative Williams.
Yes.
Chair Petrie.
Yes. House Bill 500, as amended by PHS 1, as amended by Committee Amendment 1, having received 1 nay vote and 3 passes, will be reported with a favorable expression that same should pass on the floor. And we do have a committee amendment to the PHS 1.
I move that the committee amendment is rolled into PHS 1. Second.
We have a motion and a second to roll the committee amendment into PHS 1. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The committee amendment to PHS 1 is rolled in and will be considered as one unified. Thank y'all very much. And let me Representative Burke, thank you for your comments, and I know y'all care. I know you do, and questions, I appreciate them very much, and they're always welcome. You're always welcome, and I know you've caught me in the hallway at times about odd and things. Always open to conversation. That's the way I learn. Somebody questions, and I have to go find out. I always learn that way. I love the input. I love figuring it out. So don't be strangers. Ask me questions. Always happy to. Thank y'all very much. We're going to move on to House Bill 504. This is a judicial branch budget bill. If you'll give me just a moment. Judicial Branch Budget Bill, House Bill 504, and very similar to the way 500 was dealt with. This was set up as an introduction for conversations, and I appreciate the Judicial Branch engaging with us on way more than one occasion, and it was very helpful. What we end up with is we do have language to reduce or attempt to reduce in priority certain items in their budget. Things like travel, out of state, in state, advertising, those type things. We increased their general fund by $7.5 million in 27 and about $7.2 in FY 28 to support mandated services, including information technology subscription fees, audio-visual system upgrades, and contractor rate increases. Increase the general fund by $2 million in each fiscal year to support current services. We increase the restricted funds by 13.6 in FY 26 to support current services and replace reduced revenue that they have had in years fairly recently, declining revenues in Master Commissioners Fund, although that seems to be picking up the other way. We have attempted to assist with certain local facilities, funds, items. I don't know that everyone's going to want to go through those, but I will skip down and say that we have been historically looking at a list of courthouses, and they work their way up the list, and we try to address one or a few in each cycle. We had two somewhat unexpected pieces pop up. So contrary to the normal stacking of consideration of courthouse construction, we were actually taking on Boyle County and Bell County. They have issues with their existing structures. I'm not going to pretend to understand everything about that, but it has bubbled up to high priority, and those are the two courthouse projects that we have identified, Boyle and Bell. We do amend language, and just to make sure, we have, as in the executive branch for elected and non-elected, 2% increase increment salary and another 2% in FY 28. Added some reporting requirements. And we also added language prohibiting furloughs. We think there is enough money, especially with these additions, that there is enough to take care of all personnel and all other essential services that have been identified. So that's why you heard those increases in restricted as well as general funds. And that is House Bill 504.
Motion to adopt House, PHS 1 on House Bill 504.
We have a motion for adoption of the committee sub PHS 1 for 504, which is what I was explaining. Sorry about that. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We do have the committee PHS 1 committee substitute adopted, and I do apologize. That is what I was trying to explain in summary for fashion. Representative Bojanowski?
Thank you. Just a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it's my understanding that over 2 million in general funds in both fiscal years was removed from the judicial form retirement system. Am I understanding this correctly? And if so, why is that?
Okay, and it may be the way you have formulated the question, but that's just incorrect. Okay, thank you. All good. If you reformulate the question or it becomes better identified for you, then just say so, bring it up to in the committee or to me otherwise. Okay, thank you. Anyone else seeking recognition for comment or question on 504 as amended by committee substitute?
Motion on passage of House Bill 504 as submitted by PHS 1. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Representative Banta.
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski.
Yes.
Representative Bowling.
Yes.
Representative Bray.
Yes.
Representative Bridges.
Yes.
Representative Brown.
Pass.
Representative Burke.
Yes.
Representative Dietz.
Yes.
Representative Fleming.
Aye.
Representative Freeland.
Yes.
Representative Fugit.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Lockett.
Yes.
Representative McPherson.
Yes.
Representative Riley.
Yes.
Representative Stevenson.
Yes.
Representative Thomas.
Aye.
Representative Truitt.
Yes.
Representative Upchurch.
Yes.
Representative Williams.
Yes.
Chair Petrie.
Yes, and may I explain my vote? Yes, I may. No, it's really not an explanation of vote, but I wanted to go ahead and get this in. I was passed a note from someone, don't forget. And I don't know about the numbers, so I can't say that. But don't forget to thank nonpartisan staff who have been working with us for 146 days plus to get this to the point today. The best staff to work with. I learned so much. I got a lot more to learn, but I learned so much, and I appreciate y'all putting up with me. And the vice chairs, I think they may be a little harder to put up with, but especially putting up with me, though, and Jenny and Seth, and then I really want to do this. I asked Jenny, and she said most of y'all were in here. So if you will stand up, please. Let me see who this staff is. Yes, thank y'all very much. Thank y'all. Y'all can sit down. That's enough of the embarrassment. But sincerely, thank you all, and Jenny and Seth also. But thank y'all all very much. This cannot happen without you. I know we say that, but I will tell you, every time I go through this, I am absolutely amazed at what you're all able to do and get this thing pulled together. It just, wow. The dedication and the ability is just, it is awesome. So thank y'all, and that won't be the last time you'll have to take that, but take it, okay? All right, now that explained my vote. That was a yes. All right, House Bill 504, as amended by PHS 1 Committee Substitute, having received 17 yes votes, 1 nay vote, and 3 pass votes, will be reported with favorable expression that same should pass on the floor. I'm going to be dangerous. Anybody got anything else? We are adjourned. Thank y'all very much.